If you watch the show for a while, you know that I am concerned about the mental health and stability of Donald Trump, but I am admittedly far from an expert on anything having to do with that. So we do want to turn to people with actual study and expertise in this area. And so I'd like to welcome to the show once again, Dr. Bandy Lee, currently in the faculty of Yale School of Medicine's Law and Psychiatric Division, and also the author of The Dangerous Case of Donald Trump, 27 psychiatrists and mental health experts assess a president. Dr. Lee, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. The reason that I wanted you to come back on, obviously I'm happy to talk to you at any point, but we had last week a number of different instances where Donald Trump had sort of weird things crop up during his speech, where multiple times he used the word oranges instead of origins and seemed to be searching for the word. Multiple times last week, he seemed confused about what country his father had been born in. And he also talked about how the noise from wind turbines give people cancer. And I know that there's a lot of potential explanations for why a person might have those sorts of mistakes. And so I wanted to turn to an expert. How concerned should we be about these sorts of things seemingly becoming more common?
First, let me say that my views are my own. And although I do represent the World Mental Health Coalition, it's a coalition of thousands of mental health professionals who have gotten together from around the world precisely because of the same concerns. Now, since I had organized a conference on speaking about and warning the public about the dangerous signs of mental impairment that Mr. Trump was exhibiting and the dangers that those would imply in the office of the presidency, have largely borne out to be true. And so what we're seeing now is very little surprise to us that he was actually in a worse condition than we had, than the public had suspected, that he is actually growing worse over time, and that he is becoming more and more uncontainable. These are the things that we had predicted based on the patterns that we saw. Of course, we cannot diagnose given that we don't have all the information, but this is precisely why we have been calling for an urgent evaluation.
And so I'm curious, I believe the last time we spoke might have been before the new Congress was sworn in, but in any event, we're several months now into the first period of his time as president where he does not have unified control of government, where there is meaningful pushback against what he would like to see happen in the government. And based on what you've seen of him, do you have any concern that his sort of worst tendencies in terms of aggression and lack of interest in the facts and things like that might be exacerbated by an actual meaningful opposition party confounding his plans and pushing back against him on a daily basis?
Yes, well, what we're seeing are signs of someone who is not normal. He is showing signs of multiple impairments, emotionally, cognitively, and mentally, and therefore to treat this as a normal situation, in other words, to confront him through the usual means of politics would be insufficient in my view, partly because most of the systems we have in place assume that those we will be dealing with are within the normal range, and usually that is the case, and there's no reason for mental health professionals to speak up about what is usually not our domain, the political domain. And yet the reason why we have chosen to do so is because we see no other way to deal with the situation than to treat it for what it is, a mental health problem.
Dr. Lee, from the standpoint of the president himself, so he's hearing about some of these, some experts talking about his potential mental decline and issues he's having. Is it possible that the person who's experiencing it doesn't realize what's happening? What is their experience in it? Do they not realize that it's happening? And then so when people say it, they're thinking, this is ridiculous. I don't feel any of this.
That's right. one of the first things you lose when you become mentally impaired is the ability to recognize that something is wrong. So if you had a broken leg or even a heart problem, you still have an intact mind to be able to tell yourself that something is not right and to seek care for it. That is the part that becomes impaired in the case of mental affliction, and therefore when it becomes severe enough that the person does not recognize what is happening with them, in fact, will more likely adamantly deny that anything is wrong, such as saying that one is a stable genius or that one is very normal, as Mr. Trump has recently. Those are actually statements that indicate denial, and so it's incumbent on those who are around him to be able to detect and to seek care for him. And what we're seeing is that no one has yet really seriously addressed this issue as a mental health problem. Now, we held a major interdisciplinary conference in Washington recently that brought together historians, political scientists, legal professionals, experts on climate change, on nuclear war, on social psychology, to try to bring together our assessment as to how to deal with this situation, since none of the usual political mechanisms have worked so far.
Well, Dr. Lee, we want to thank you once again for joining us. We very much appreciate your expertise on this topic.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for watching this clip from the Damage Report. If you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and ring the bell on YouTube to get notifications of our new videos. And of course, you can catch the full Damage Report live every weekday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific on TYT Network on YouTube TV.